I got a feeling. I got a feeling, brothers. I got a feeling that somebody's trying to sneak in my frat, and it ain't gonna be no shit like that.
It's a little blurry, or maybe it's my eyes. The friends I've had to bury, they keep me up at night. Said I couldn't love someone, 'cause I might break. If you're gonna die, not by mistake. Remember not to get too close to stars. They're never gonna give you love like ours. Blurry, or maybe it's my eyes.
Yo, welcome to another episode of In the Cut. I am your boy Caress. Man, this is about to be beautiful. This is gonna be beautiful. As y'all know, man, we want to highlight different Greeks. We want to bring different Greeks onto the show. Recently, we have come across some things though that kind of disturbed our spirit, our Greek spirit. So we got to talking and we said, hey, hold up. We need to have a conversation. Let's talk about the denouncing of letters. All right, we in the cut. What up, fellas? How y'all doing, yo?
Man, bless.
Wait a minute. It looked like y'all in the same. What's going on here? Why am I left out?
This is copy paste. We in the same place, but we're not in the same place. It's like the metaverse. Yeah.
Okay. How y'all fellas doing, man? How y'all living out there? Let me introduce the group. Mr. Affliction. You up, sir?
How y'all doing? Y'all know me from previous shows. Glad to be back on. Glad to have the distinguished guests that we have with us.
See, a pre-production text message went out, and ninjas don't read they text messages. This is what I'll be talking about. I take the time to write format of the show, and I send it to the group.
Hey man, look.
See, 5 clubs for you. That's my sonny. So I'm Can I get your name, your fraternity?
Hey, I mean, Ship. I mean, if you want to kick it over to the Ace Club, I mean, I read. But I mean, we'll give Affliction and we'll give it.
No. Go ahead and kick it over, man. Kick it over.
What? Let my ship show you how it's done. Right. Seductive, sir, can you do that for me?
All right. Yes. So I mean, y'all have heard me on In the Cut and on the Fellows, and a member of the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Noop Life, Spring 06. And I mean, you heard me say seductive, you know me. So I think that answered most of the questions. Yeah.
Thank you. Affliction. Can you do it right?
Y'all know me. Brandon. I captured this in the last episode. But anyway, it's Brandon, Spring 09. Hey, Noop.
Thank you. I am B-Bond, your boy Caress. Dog number 5. Mac chapter where your chick chose me. Spring 2006. Let me get that right. And I gotta show deference here, ladies. I'm so sorry. I should have went to my profile first, but as guests, he's gonna be the first guest introduced. Dr. Green, can you introduce yourself for me, please, sir?
What's going on, everyone? My name is Dr. Larry Green, member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Spring 05.
And your beautiful wife, please.
My name is Eileen Green. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Spring 05, Alpha Omega chapter, Foretold. That's me.
All right. And to the AKA in the room, Miss Bianca, can you introduce yourself?
That's what I said. I said Spring 05, Spring 06.
Yeah.
I sprinkle
I,
six.
I was I was like, dang, Sans, you denounced us.
I just heard him say his, and
I
I
know
was
you
like,
heard him say Spring
I
on Fire.
think
You said Spring
naturally it like clicked to me, and Larry was like, "Wait, what?
I know
You
y'all
gotta
look.
stop me, babe. You gotta let me know."
Y'all that much of a union. I was like, man, Sanson denounces like these people trying to denounce letters out here. You know,
No, I'm a six.
let's go.
Sorry, that's what I'm saying.
All right, Miss Bianca, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Bianca. I am a proud member of the Oh So Pretty Ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Deuce Club, and I am Spring 22.
It's like a fad going on right now where a lot of people. I'm calling it a fad because, well, let me not say that because I want to be respectful of why people are doing it. I want to be respectful of why people are doing it. But for those of you that don't know, over the course of maybe 3 to 6 months, there's been a lot of videos out there on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook of people that have pledged these organizations, whether it be Kappa, whether it be Q Dog, whether it be AKA, whether it be Sigma, whatever Greek organization you could think of, they're denouncing their letters, and everybody has a multitude of reasons of why they are doing it. What I would like us to focus on today would be the religious aspect, because that seems to be the number one topic when people are talking about denouncing letters. So first off, man, what's y'all's thoughts on denouncing letters or giving up on something that you work so hard to obtain?
I'll defer to brother G. All right. So I'll respond on the giving us something you work so hard to attain, and then I'll let B Money touch on the denouncing letters part. Or which one do you want?
I'll do the giving up something you want. So
Okay, I'll talk about the denouncing letters, and it's gonna bridge across, all these different domains. But one, everyone has their personal reason for doing something. And as you said before, we do want to respect people's decisions. And I will give kudos to people that are doing it for individuality and for a driven reason to do something of that magnitude, because of the fact that it is something that's been rooted in history for a long time, these organizations. And I'll dive a little bit more into it later. And to the point you get to where you're so fed up to whatever it is that you're going to actually denounce it, takes courage. But also, the only thing I would challenge and push back on is that at what level does it need to come to the internet? I mean, I know we're talking about it on the internet right now too. And because of the religions piece of it, I think there's a lot of things that can just be done behind closed doors if you're really passionate about it in your personal relationship with Christ. And without diving too deep into that, because I never want to come off anything as like judgmental of why someone's doing it, because you want to like see the message that they're delivering. It's like the pastor in your church that you can just tell is like living 100% bad, but it's not about what he's doing; it's about the message that's coming across. So there's a lot of goodness that could come out of something like this. But I mean, personally, for me, I never say never, but probably never see me follow this suit. But I'll stop right there for right now.
So my piece was the giving up something you worked so hard for. It would kind of go along the lines of what I would have said about even, people denouncing their letters. At some point in time, if there's a certain conviction that hits you, there's a lot of things that I think everybody is involved in, especially the older you get. Technically, if you're making boss moves, you're going to be connected to different things and have different titles. With that being said, if there is a conflict of interest based on things that you are affiliated with, then you have to prioritize which one do you want to submit to more. And then again, on top of that, there's also the perception, because, you can have two people, especially, looking at certain things, they don't see it that way. So with that all being said, I guess I would just say I will be willing to give up something that I've worked hard for, but my convictions will have to be very strong.
Okay.
Yeah, I only because I'm not going to really deep dive into that one. I would just say whatever people decide to do in their life, I just need them to keep the same energy consistently across their life. And that's where you get where even in the church, where I've tried to everybody that knows me not be a hypocrite. There's things that I do wrong, and there's a lot of things that I do well, but at the same time, not to be a hypocrite about it. So I think a lot of people that are coming out, I know a lot of people that are coming out with this. You're going to have the people that really know them looking at every aspect of their life. So you have to be careful in these moments of what message you're delivering, and make sure it can't be pinpointed to something else that you're doing. On the fact of what you said, something you work so hard to give up to, but it doesn't align with who you are as an individual. Are people going to be leaving their careers, leaving members of their family, doing a lot of these things in that same exact energy? I just say you got to keep that same energy and that same, be consistent. Because I can respect it.
I just say this real quick is because that's where, like I said, I know you said you want to be respectful to everybody, but that's where it does start to change into a fad if you don't keep that energy across the table.
And let me say why I call it a fad, because I almost can pinpoint the first person that did it on the internet, and then every argument after that person was pretty much a copycat of that first person. Like there's no individuality when it comes to why they are denouncing letters. I mean, everybody's saying the exact same thing. And so the reason why I wanted to tackle the religious aspect of it first is because, I mean, let's just jump in. Everybody's going to kneeling at the altar, worshiping a Greek god. What's another heavy argument? Selling oneself for the purposes of an organization. Those are three big things that you hear. So the first thing I kind of want to tackle, us being noobs, you know what I mean? And I'm not gonna sit here and go through our writs. That's just not something that I'm gonna do. That's, some things are sacred, you know what I mean? But what's your guys' argument on?
Hey, well, you know, look, the argument that the people will say that push back on it is by using the word sacred, that they would say, why does it have to be so hidden? Which I think that's a faulty argument. That is one of the ones I'd be pushed off. There's a lot of things people do in private or to hide it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's demonic, but
yeah, it's hidden because it's
not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. Not everybody is built this way to be this. You know what I'm saying? So what's you guys' take? I'm going to answer my own question first. Religiously, when people say it just doesn't line up with my religious beliefs, my take, I'm going to answer my question first.
Sure.
My take is that foundationally speaking, where were you at before you even pledged? That's my first question. Foundationally speaking, where were you at before you pledged? Because if you were rooted within that religion, I just don't want to use Christianity. I don't want to leave any religion out. If you were rooted in that religion, you pledging into a Greek organization can't change your foundation, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I would think that anyway. And so I believe I talked to one of our pro fights yesterday, actually, Big Brother G-Rock. And one of the things that he said to me was, out of all the interviews that he sat in, you know, the one that comes to mind the most is mine. Is because they asked a very specific question, and my answer was, I don't need Kappa. Kappa needs me. Now, that's coming from a foundational aspect where my dad's a pastor, my grandfather was a pastor. You know, I know what, you know, Greek mythology is, and actually I love studying Greek mythology in high school. I loved it. You know what I mean? I thought it was very interesting. But at the same time, I don't look at what I did while I was pledging as, you know, kneeling before the god Apollo. I just don't.
Right. I'm like, I was about to say, so you saying you ain't got a tattoo of Apollo on your back?
Yeah, I don't. But I don't see that. I don't see the correlation. So that's just my point. So
right. No, that's and you hit on it. I was going to say for everyone that's watched the fellas, and I don't know if we touched on it too much in the cut, but I mean, all of us are follow Christianity and are all believers. And it's rooted. If you go walk through a lot of our shows, like you see a lot of it throughout the shows, even fundamentally.
Excuse me, real quick. Go check out our episode on the church. The fellas.
We did, and it's rooted through a lot of things that we talked about. And you can, and when people are really listening, you can hear that. But it's so we're not coming from a place of ignorance, because that is the only thing that I would say, and not to combat or debate with anybody on what their beliefs are at all, is one thing I don't appreciate, and this will probably be the only thing you'll hear me really speak hard on, is the fact that I don't speak on things that I don't know anything about at all. Like, there's a level of getting to the understanding and asking questions, but speaking on things you don't know at all about is not good. And one thing I didn't appreciate in a lot of the comments are people that haven't went through any process at all, because everybody's process is individual to them. B and I,
it should be. It should be.
We were on the same ship. We did a lot of things the same, since it's all supposed to be one. But there were a lot of things that were still different, individual to both of us. So you really can't compare one process to another. So I'm not even going to speak on the people that are denouncing their letters. And that's one thing I will give them. There are a lot of bad people in every single organization. And there are a lot of people that shouldn't be in these organizations. They shouldn't be leaders. They shouldn't be parents. They shouldn't be pastors. But they make it their way into these organizations. And they probably did make someone's process go a little bit different than what it should have. And I don't want to denounce what they're denouncing for why they're denouncing it, but I will call out certain things of the people that have not went through any of these processes that have a lot to say. You probably need to just close your mouth and just ask questions and kind of sit over there and just talk fundamentally from the surface. But you can't say what I went through, that I was like serving some demon or something. I'm like,
what's wild about it, Drew? Like, there's videos out there, people that didn't pledge at all. and it's like, you're making a video about this? Like, my cousin, we had about a 3-hour conversation about this about a year ago. He was in the Word a whole lot, and he was like, "Man, I don't see how you pledge, man. That's against everything God stood for." I'm like, "What? No, God is in here, bro. That's God's in me. So whatever I brought into Kappa, I'm bringing light to that area. I'm not. You can't." And I'll probably catch some pushback for this. You gotta take some things with a grain of salt, man. Like, really, like some things that we did. I think as three noobs on this show, we could say we could laugh about it now. It was fun, you know what I'm saying? But some of that, it was stupid.
Yeah,
and you take it with a grain of salt. It's not something, oh my gosh, yes, we're kneeling before the altar of Apollo and we're saying, Apollo, please, do X, Y, Z for, come on. We're not doing any of that. We're not.
Yeah. And that's one of the things
going
to that
in a process, but
I know. Nothing I've ever seen on going through a process and seeing a lot of different lines, and I'll leave it at that. But it's one thing I do want to touch on, the piece that they said of serving, and not pushback for pushback, just something for people to think on as you're getting whatever information you get out there on the net. And even what we're saying, everybody has, the right to their own understanding and their opinion. Doesn't mean you need to speak on it, even though we're speaking on our opinions right now. but it says the serving two gods. And which piggybacking on what you said, Ship, on what was your foundation before you went into this? If you didn't have a strong Christian or religious type background coming into this, I honestly can sit there and say how someone can come into and serve their divine nine in that situation, because of the fact of that bond, that history, that foundation. So much stuff is there. It's so easy for you to come into something that's bigger than a lot of people. That's why a lot of people join organizations, because it's bigger than them and what they're doing. And that turns into your God, into your altar, which I would say is 100% wrong, speaking from my spiritual beliefs. But that is still individual to the person. You can't attach that to an entire organization. And last thing I'm going to say before I pass it to B, because I know you've been waiting patiently here.
No, I'm good, man. I'm just soaking up the knowledge.
The thing that's going to be a turn on, I would say to like every person, that if you're getting a message out there, don't do it for views. I don't even know what Ship is going to title this episode, but at least title it what it's supposed to be. When somebody titles an episode, and I actually watched one of those, like witchcraft and demonic practices in broad daylight, and then you talk about that for 4 minutes out of an hour and a half, just because you at that point in time, I'm gonna be like, dude, you're just trying to get views because you just want people, you want it to be clickbait, and that's something I'm gonna say is that's foul, honestly.
Man, so foul if you can hear the sirens in the back. It's criminal. You know, no, man, y'all hit on a lot of it. You know, like you said, every process is different. Um, shoot, in my part, you know, and of course, not going no detail, but faith is me. You know, I have a strong faith base. I know we say religion because we're covering all, you know, all religions. However, with that being said, as we talked about it on the fellows one time, I'm strong in my faith with God. So even some things that people say, it's kind of already inferred that like, hey, this is the given that you're going to put these other things first. So if I say, hey, go and, you know, do this, I'm assuming that like if I told you to go do something, you've already checked. If I go tell your kid, my nephew, you know what I'm saying, to go do something, I'm expecting for there to be the like he's going to check all those boxes like, hey, did this person who stays in the house with me, did my daddy say this? You know what I'm saying? Maybe did my, you know, mom, did this person say that? You know, grandparents, wherever I'm at on that pecking order. So based off me, God and my faith is number one. So everything after that, if somebody would say go do it, it's gonna be like, well, if it's not in alignment with, you know what I'm saying, what's something that God has told me to do, or I feel, as I stated earlier, convicted in my heart, I'm not gonna do it anyway. And can't nobody change that about me because I'm everything that I do is rooted, even down to my family members. There's family members I don't mess with because of the fact that it's like, hey, that ain't how I rock, you know. And I ain't judging them. That's their life. But what at the end of the day, that ain't how I rock. So
Yeah, I think we could speak on that a little bit. I mean, we've a real life example of something that was contradictory to what was being said earlier, and you know what I'm saying, and we may we make decisions based on that. So I'll be like, hey, I feel like this. There's a lot of people that would love to be in a Greek organization. There's people, obviously, there's people still pledging in it today. I mean, there's a line probably that crossed today somewhere in America. There's a line that probably crossed, or somewhere this evening. I would say this: for those that want to denounce, I would almost push, not push back on it, but almost agree with my ship in that it doesn't have to be done publicly. If that's what you believe and that's what your choice is, take your ball and go home in quiet and just leave it at that. It's not something that.
So, can I give a quick pushback on something you both said? But what I will say, a little caveat to it is the pushback of I have no problem with nobody.
And I already know what you're about to say, and I got something else for that. Go ahead.
Bet. So I don't have no problem with somebody doing it publicly. I do know some people going to do some things just for attention, and some people are like, hey, I'm actually convicted to go and preach what I believe is the word. And I could never tell somebody like, hey, you don't have to do that publicly, because that's what we are called to do. However, what I will also say, if you're doing that, it also teaches not to condemn, because at the end of the day, a lot of the verbiage that's being used, you throw some stuff out there and you be like you said earlier, I don't see how you do that. Like if you giving the word, or if you plant a seed to somebody, or maybe educate them, then let God do the watering. Let whatever, if it's supposed to be that way, God will do the watering within that nature. But shoot, maybe they actions is already so pleasing to God. God, like, I'm not, if that is something God, like, I'm not worried about. They doing something above and beyond. But
yeah, they holier than thou already.
What I'm saying is, stop condemning people for whatever decision they're making, because at some point in time, you're probably doing something that you could be condemned for. And that's great, having that grace and mercy. And you're going to get more people. If you're really doing this for a conviction, you're going to get more people who's going to be like, well, let me at least think about it. Not saying that they're going to do it, but they'll be more inclined to think about it or listen to you if you stop the condemning about it. Like, you didn't do this. Okay, now you're going to hell. Last words, you ain't got no hell to put me in, nor no any heaven. So, you know what I'm saying? We both out here on earth just living.
I would say I've probably watched 3 of these videos and a quarter of another one, and I was like, all right, I'm done with this. They're not even delivering their message well. I would say one of the videos I watched was actually the longest one, even though it was sped up on 1.8 or whatever you can do on YouTube. They actually did a good job of no condemning throughout their entire time. I did have a problem with it. Is like they really preached. They talked about their message and their deliverance of Christ, which was fine. But that's the only reason I had an issue with their title. Like, just label it something else. Just talk about how you came to Christ. You're deliberately tying this to denouncing of your letters, even though no, you just needed to find Christ, baby girl. What you were doing out there was the same thing that there was probably some other undergrads doing. That didn't have nothing to do with your sorority. You was just gonna probably do it at a lesser magnitude if you were a GDI. And then also one thing I would challenge everybody is too is because of the fact you have a lot of people that have not. Granted, you might want to get the message out to people that are considering joining any type of organization. Hopefully, it's not just a Greek organization where they need to look at the values and how people are operating the organization because that applies to everything. Turn off the comments. If you're delivering a message from Christ, turn off the comments because there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be in there condemning or somebody. I knew there was a reason I didn't do that. My whole family did it, and I did it, and I told them it didn't make sense, and that's why. And
make it.
And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry.
Right.
Sorry
Or you didn't get picked.
I'm sorry you didn't get picked. You know what I'm saying? Like, or so it's like, don't try to go in there and add a whole bunch of stuff to the message that's taken away from Christ. If there is a message from Christ to be delivered right now, there's a lot of so-called Christians in the comments ruining that. I have like one more thing I'm gonna say, but it's not on this topic, so I'm gonna be quiet for a little bit, and I have my closing piece.
Well, I just wanted to keep this short. Just be on the lookout. We are looking to have some AKAs, have a few more noobs. The more that we could get on this topic, man. I know y'all losing light, so I want to go ahead and wrap this up a little bit. But we want to get out here and talk about it, and please drop the comments down below, and look out for part 2.
Hey, look, I did have one other last thing, and I'm gonna close on. It's funny because I was about to say my diamond always shine light, but that's another thing people say because you say you like the light. Like we taking the place of Christ. I'm like, sorry, I don't ever think I'm taking the place of Christ. He shines through me, and my light comes out in my cake. In different ways, in a lot of different ways. But you've heard things like this forever. I mean, most people that's watch the shows know I'm in the military. Even though there's a lot of people that's alive in this first world country and don't deal with certain things, and there's people who say every demonic thing they can say about the military. But people, just like they said, defund the police and all these type of things. Everybody has something to say until they realize the benefits that's coming from something that are there. And I'm not going to say that's what Divine Nine is, even though it's doing that in a lot of different organizations and communities. But the only other thing I will leave there is, which if you've heard us talking about a lot on the fellas, is Black excellence and a lot of things. And I think the thing that bothers me the most of this, and I love all people, is why is it that in our community, every time something is good and is foundational, people find a way to try to tear it down? You have pastors, politicians, like people of like dignitaries and magnitudes, actors, actresses, ball players, all these people that young Black people are looking up to they want to be. And these organizations have led some people to success. Or built that foundation to open up those doors for them that we didn't have. The same thing with HBCUs. I didn't go to HBCU, but when people talk bad about it, I kind of feel some type of way. Like, that's our stuff. So as big as these organizations are in our community and the people that are working in them, I feel like it's another thing you have to kind of consider this. And I'll leave this for the thought is we talk about demonic forces and breaking things down. And I'm not saying there's not some good religious stuff out of this that people need to look introspectively themselves, but where's the devil busy even in this topic? And that's why we're trying not to tear anybody down while other people are doing that, to try to break down our community and break down each other, to have people feuding. It's like 2 Black actresses can't be in the same movie. Oh, that's so-and-so movie. Why they're doing that? Why Chris Brown sing that song? That's Trey's song. Like, that stuff is ignorant to me. It is so ignorant. Like, you don't see that in other communities. Blake Shelton can be good and Toby Keith can be good. So but in our community, we always got to like feud. I'm gonna leave it there.
Right. And so this is our panel of guests, our esteemed guests here. We're gonna get right into it. So first things first, we got some noobs in the room, we got an AKA in the room, we got a Delta in the room. First question I have for the group: what made you guys join your respective organizations? I'm gonna kick it to Miss Bianca first. What made you want to be an AKA?
Well, I think It all started with my mentors, just by the characteristics they embody. I felt like I fit right in. So I also wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself. And based on our principles, of course, sisterhood, scholarship, and service to all mankind, I felt like I fit right in. And as far as going above and beyond, of course, our current vice president, Kamala Harris, is the lady of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And I feel like we just hold ourselves to a higher standard, and that's what I'm about. So, yeah.
All right. Miss Eileen, Spring 6.
All right, we gotta let that go. But to be honest, who wants to be a part of anything other than the best sorority, ever? That's kind of where I always landed at, where I always wanted to be. I knew that Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was the best. I wanted to be a part of the best. I loved how we embody sisterhood. I grew up with a big family, but I was like the youngest, and all my sisters were older. So I love that idea of like sisters and women, like keeping it strong, keeping it together. I also love the idea of just giving back to the community. We're all about community service and fellowship and scholarship and all things, just giving back and just being a mentor and having mentees that all inspire me. And I just want to do the same thing for other other girls, just make it possible. I just think that Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated embodies that, and I wanted to be a part of it. So,
all right. Same screen, Miss Dr. Green, man. What made you want to be a noob?
Man, y'all, that's a pretty hard act to follow. Well, I'm gonna be honest. When I was younger, I think I was in high school. I stayed up to about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. This is when we had regular TV, and there was a step show on TV, and they had like all different step fraternity sororities come out and step. All the sororities came out and step. All the fraternities came out and step. The Sigmas came out. I seen the crowd, kind of sitting there, not really saying anything. The Megas came out. There was a little hype. Alphas came out. It was real quiet. But then like all the lights went out. And then you just hear you just see like the screen just shaking, and they're like, "Here come the nukes! Here come the nukes!" I'm like, I'm in high school, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting up, I'm like, what's going on? And then they show a flash. I'm on the screen. They all had canes. I'm like, what they about to do with that? So they all just threw them up in the air, and they caught them, and then they start stepping with the canes. I'm like, and everybody just rushed to the front. All women, people just rushed to the front. I'm like, what is about this fraternity or these people everybody likes so much? So when I get to school the next day, I see my teacher. He had a cane in his room. I never paid attention to that cane that was in his room. I was like, so I asked him about it. And I was like, something, that's going to be my profession. And I want to be a teacher. So I started asking him a little bit more information about it. Come to, learn a little bit more about it when I got to college. One of my best friends, he had him joining. He was like, man, this is one of the best things in the world. And that made me want to become a member. And I was just like, seeing my teacher, seeing my best friend, I knew in my heart that's what I wanted to do.
Seeing all the women rush to the stage.
That was number one, probably. But just seeing how he carried himself as a teacher, how my friend was a good friend to me, I just knew in my heart that's what I wanted to do. And all the community service that they do, all the things my teacher's been doing for me, he still do things for me to this day. And I was like, something, that's what made me want to do it.
Man.
Good answer, babe.
Wow.
Good job.
Larry being our pro fight, I don't think I got choked up listening to the answer. I've never heard it before.
I didn't know if he was gonna end at the ladies rushing the stage. I was like, baby, keep
I had
going.
to clean it up a little bit.
Okay. All right. I just
can't say the rest what happened at the end when
I was like, oh man, where is this going?
Because they actually lost that step show on purpose at the end. But I'll just leave like that.
Oh, man. You know what?
Thanks for bringing it together.
As my ship, I don't think I've ever heard you answer this question either. What made you want to be a noob, man?
So really it's echoing on what Bianca said, being a part of something that's bigger than you. And I've done most of that most of my life, and even being in the military, being a noob, playing sports, being a captain on all my sports teams, also being a captain of my ship. I just feel like it was something that everything that's out there, and not to echo a lot of things that Larry just said as well. It's community service, brotherhood, all of that, successful Black men, and I got to give big ups, and I said this I was a little bit late. I was 1 minute late today, everyone. So I didn't get all the pre of how we're going to edit and everything in from the previous part. So I may echo a little something I said before. But anyhow, we pretty much it's all about the brotherhood. Brotherhood is big for me, and with B Money and Caress, that's a lot of different things that we've done, and y'all seen this on the shows and stuff like that. So being able to step into something like that that exhibits all of that, and I got a lot of love for all the Divine Nine. Seeing Black excellence out there, you see we on the fellas we say excellence realized, achievement in every field in human endeavors with the Noops, the greatest fraternity in the world exhibits. I feel like that's something I should be a part of, and to be able to spread that type of love, whether it's somebody that's part of Divine Nine, other brothers, and even showing Black excellence to the community America out there. So being able to do that by representing some letters as well too, I think that's a good way to go about it. So that was the starting point.
All right, Mr. Affliction.
All right, so as to keep it 100% honest, my brother, he was a noob. That's what first interests me, and I say my brother, but my brother's entire line was my brothers. I met them when I was in high school, and I've been close, as we've spoke about numerous of times. B Bond, big brother Caress, been knowing him for over 20 years at that time, been known for a long time. And to be honest, what really made me want to become noob was something that my uncle said, who happens to be a Sigma. He said, whatever you do, he was like, you don't ever want to be your organization, then your name. You want to be your name, then your organization. So you don't want to be the new Brandon. You want to be Brandon, who happens to be a new. So I started watching, my brother. I watched other organizations as I got introduced into it, and seeing this next level of just overall Black excellence as a whole. And I just excellence. I'm take out the Black excellence, but just excellence, and people who look like me being excellent and doing something great. And everybody that I was meeting was not their organization, then their name. I knew them as individuals, where I saw them before I even saw their organization, which made that organization be greater because it was individuals who were about something and doing something. And it just, let's say, it spoke to me because I don't like wasting my time, and they weren't about wasting my time. They was about educating and elevating. So, I got in where I fit in because it just matched me.
All right. And I think I'll say I'm gonna keep my story short. I became a noob or a Kappa because I didn't have any other choice. My mama sat me down when I was a senior in high school. We were looking at colleges. And when I had finally decided where I was going to go to school, she was like, all right, it's time for us to have this conversation. She was like, did you know your grandfather was a noob? At that time, I was like, nope, I didn't know anything about Greek life. And she was like, well, your grandfather was a noob, and Lord rest his soul. When he passed, she said, you're not going to be anything else. She said, when you get to school, you're going to hear stuff about this black and gold. You're going to hear stuff about this blue and white, this purple and yellow. Don't pay any attention. She said, the first time you hear something about Kappa Alpha Psi, you run to wherever it is they tell you need to be, and you sit your butt down and you listen. I said, yes, ma'am. And that's what happened. I didn't pay anybody else any attention. As soon as they said something about Kappa Alpha Psi, I remember going to the Het at that time, sitting down and listening to these men talk. And they brought this girl named Diamond in there. Listen, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm just being honest. They brought this girl named Diamond in there. And she said, Kappa Alpha Psi is the greatest fraternity ever created. And I'm a Kappa Diamond. And I said, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. And I was hooked ever since. Y'all can ask our AD, big brother, when we have our big brother Carnivore on the show, he'll tell you that exact same story. She said, he'll tell you, B Bond fell in love with Diamond. We couldn't get rid of her. Couldn't get rid of him after that point. Whenever I say, hey, man, what Diamond doing? She all right? She good? All right. So good, man. So with that being said, we all know there's stigmas out there with fraternities and sororities. I wanted to take this time to we all said why we wanted to join and why we ended up being where we were. Did we hear any bad things? Was there stuff that we heard coming up about why we shouldn't go Greek? Is there, what kind of stigmas did you guys hear before you embarked on this journey? I'm gonna start off with Larry.
I never heard anything bad about it. My best friend told me some things he was doing, but it never turned me away. It kind of made me want to be a little bit more interested. From what I've seen and the way my former high school teacher carried himself, it was never anything bad. It was everything was good. It was like, man, why would you not want to become a member of this fraternity? So I didn't hear anything bad.
What about you, Miss Eileen? You hear anything bad? Or
I didn't hear anything bad. I think for the most part, it was almost just those stigmas on like which sorority was better in a sense. Like, oh, AKAs are stuck up, Deltas are about their business and super professional, and anything below was just unacceptable in a sense. No offense out there outside of Delta, aka I'm not saying like nothing is good enough, but I'm just saying like those were just different stigmas that had already like been told, about the organizations that I was interested in. So it was always like, well, I guess if it's not going to be Delta or AKA, for me, Delta, it wasn't going to be anything. So I think mine was just like the stigmas that people put on, the sororities as like kind of like a characteristic in a sense. But outside of that, no, it was all good.
what about you, Miss Bianca? Being the youngin in the room, we all 10 years plus in the game over here. What have you heard, as coming up in the new school? Did anybody try to sway your opinion on before you became an AKA, or was it something it was all good things?
Well, as far as swaying my opinion, it could never be swayed, but because I always knew I wanted to be an alpha woman. I do have plenty of friends that are part of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated, but the stigma that I did hear was buying friends. So, those who really are ignorant to Divine Nine, they really, I guess, have no idea of what it's about, the connections that you have, the brotherhood, the sisterhood. So I think that's probably the only stigma that I've heard was we buy friends. So,
oh, you got jumped in to get your friends and something like that. I don't necessarily, I never thought of it that way. But it was something that I definitely thought about before I started on my journey. I'll almost say that without the support of others around me, I might have maybe not have done it, only because it was like, I heard more bad things about doing it than I did good at that point in time in my life. I just didn't know any Kappas. I didn't know any Sigmas. I didn't know any Qs or anything like that. So I didn't have anything to go off of other than I went to this informational. And this is what my mama told me. I couldn't look at nothing else. So to hear my friends tell me they couldn't have seen me as anything else other than a Kappa, I think, I got B Money here, Andrew here, but friends other than that growing up, like, oh, when I tell them, oh yeah, I'm a noob, man, I couldn't see you anything else. I knew it from the day you were born, and that's what you were going to be. That's been it's in your blood. So I just wanted to see if anybody else had any like negative connotations along with being Greek or anything like that.
Well, I could say I never really had any negative connotation. I would say that our fraternity is based off Christian principles. So that was one of the many things when I did my own research and researching about Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, that the basis of our whole fraternity is based off Christian principles and the things that we do. That's what also drew me into it. So it was close to the church. And I even met a few pastors and deacons when I went to college. That was also part of the church, and there was also members of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated that also kind of like grew me and kind of helped me and tutor me and mentor me, and they was great stand-up men. I didn't see any negativity come my way. I guess just it was my own experience, so I'm kind of glad I didn't. But seeing professional people who are doing great things, mentors in this capacity, I always looked at it like, man, this is no other way. This is a great fraternity. There's no other way.
So I believe all of our organizations have some sort of Christian principles in them. So what do you guys say to those that say, nah, man, y'all worshiping Greek gods over there? It's stuff that Greek organizations are based off of Greek deities.
Well, I'll say it really comes down to that particular chapter and the members of that particular chapter and what they are influencing on those younger generation that's trying to become members of that fraternity, whatever. Because I would say, I ain't gonna say what chapter it was, but I tried to stop a guy from dropping from our fraternity that was part of, going through a chapter. But his whole mindset was the guys who I'm aligned with, the big brothers, pro-fights, they don't want to come to church with me. And when I was like, man, that's kind of messed up. Why would they not want to do that? His whole thing was, he want to create this brotherhood. These guys not coming to church with him. They're doing other things. And I think that's what individual chapters or individual brothers that are not showing a good role model, good mentor to these younger guys, when they see that and they see them a little bit different from what they thought it was going to be, it kind of makes them give that stigma that, oh, they're not, having the same principles as me or the same Christian background I grew up with. They're not the same people. And then I guess that's where negativity starts to come in and start to flood people's minds and start thinking other negative stuff about the fraternities and sororities.
B, as the pastor of the group, what's your thoughts on it, man?
As a preacher, I like, just to quickly touch on the bad things that I heard. I did hear some things religiously with religion, but I'm not about religion. I'm about relationship. I ain't gonna preach to y'all today. But with that being said, because when you understand there are certain practices in a lot of different religions, but it's about what is your relationship with God. So that never steered me away from it. However, again, Big Brother Knowledge said that, hey, there's different chapters that do different things. I know chapter that I'm part of, that I was part of, they've always, the Bible was a part of, everything we did. We had to know, well, at least we had to know scriptures. There were certain things that was, given to us to help us stay strong and keep pushing, or, because it's not just, they built something, they built us in something that we, like I say, a foundation for us to grow. And that was based on Christianity. And I didn't have that issue. All my brothers, they came to hear me to preach. My LBs came to hear me to preach. They came to church with me when I asked them. They was respectful. So it's like anything. It's not even the Divine Nine. There are people now that you go out here who are they go to the same school as you and won't do things, go to church. So like I say, I just have I get where they're coming from, if I'm being honest, but I don't agree. I respectfully disagree because of the fact that I hate when people take things and just put it towards, as my brother said, one organization. It's like an ulterior motive that you have to try to take something down versus actually just letting it be what it's going to be and speaking on your own experience. And that's the other thing. I hate when anybody talk about something that they've never experienced. So, as my brother Nod said, he said, hey, there's GDIs who who have all of these opinions on something. Is like, you don't know nothing.
Hey, I wasn't going to circle back on the negative things I heard, but I do want to touch back on the organized gangs piece and what you said, where somebody's trying to break something down. And this is just from my thought process and what I've heard. I've never heard anyone for like a PWI, for a predominantly like white organization, call it an organized gang. I've only heard that related to our Divine Nine organization. So, and it's usually from our people. So that's something that always just grinds my gears, as Peter Griffin would say, because of the fact that we're doing it to ourselves in a lot of situations. And what's the ulterior motive, like what you said, B?
So let me hear from the ladies real quick, because from a new perspective, we could talk to you about, the Christianity piece behind what we do, and the principles in which we're guided by and things of that nature. Are the ladies governed kind of the same way, or is it something different?
No, absolutely. How my husband articulated it was perfect for me, because I feel like there are people who are naturally not going to know about our organization, and based off of what they think they know will make assumptions about what we do and what we represent. But unless they do the research, unless they're here with us, unless they understand the relationships that we built with the organization, with our pro fights, most of the best part about me being a Delta is the relationships that I have formed with my sorority sisters, my line, my pro fights, my grand pro fights. Just that alone brought me closer to God because of their relationship with God and them encouraging me and inspiring me to be closer to God. So with my experience, I never experienced that, but with just the stigma of what people outside of our organizations think, yeah, I mean they can obviously have their opinions to bring down an organization that they don't even know about, or to just speak on something that they don't care about, nor do they understand the big impact that we have on our community. So I agree with my husband per usual.
For once.
I think I'll say, so after watching a few videos on TikTok and Facebook of people denouncing their letters, I think what I saw in common with them was the principles, as far as them putting their organization before God. So I feel like it all comes down to how you organize your principles. So for me, it's God, family, AKA is after. So they compare, the Divine Nine organization to, God, and holding it on the same level. In reality, one is more superior than the other. So I feel that if you allow yourself to think that, hey, oh, we're worshiping this organization above God, that's your individual thoughts. You can't speak for the whole organization or the whole Divine Nine, because all of the organizations are Christian based. So that's just what I saw in common with everybody, them basically allowing themselves to believe that one is more superior than the other.
And I also think that when you say that, Bianca, I'm thinking about even like our chant, like all of my life, my peace and happiness, I'm going to give it to Delta. Like if you don't know what that really means, an outsider would think that that is what we're putting above God. Like all of my life, my peace and happiness, those are things that you will tell, God, Christ, but it goes hand in hand with that belief. Like you said, organizing your priorities, and if, like I said, if you don't understand what that means from an outsider perspective, they're like, what? See, there goes that cult, So I think I totally understand how someone who would not know our organization or be a part of it could say, like, what does that mean, So.
Yeah, I've always said foundationally, like when I've seen those videos, because like you, Bianca, I did a little research before we started on here. And that was the burning question I had. What was your foundation like before you joined this your organization? Was your foundation rooted in Christianity or believing in God or a higher power, or was it something that it was kind of like on the back burner for you, and you yourself then put that organization and the principles of that organization ahead of God? I think one thing that I've always tried to do, me myself, no matter what I do, I take God with me. God's a part of me. He's on the inside of me. So therefore, there's nothing that Kappa Alpha Psi could tell me about my God, because I have a personal relationship with my God, and nobody's going to shake that foundation. And I think sometimes people get lost in the organization, and that foundation might not have been there previous to you doing anything within that organization, if that makes sense.
Brother B, if I can say this real quick, because it's funny and it's ironic. And as I stated, I've been in church all my life. And but the irony that I say behind it is the same way that a lot of people are attacking these Greek organizations, Christianity is attacked the same way. They take bits and pieces of the scripture of what they believe is to be true and be like, well, judge, the judge not, lest he be judged. And they start halfway quoting stuff. And if you don't go back, or if you don't read the full chapter, then no, you're taking it, out of its true meaning. And as it was already perfectly said, so I don't need to say anything else. If you hear a chant or you hear somebody say something, you don't understand the, full totality of it. And so now you're taking that bit and pieces of it and, you're doing. So it's funny that some people are even attaching Christianity as being their reason of why they want to denounce their letters, because it's like, you should understand on both sides, of the coin, that struggle is the same. So it's what are you rooted in?
And that leads us to, so we've seen these videos. We've done part of before you guys came on, I kind of asked you guys to look it up a little bit. So when you see these videos and hear people denouncing your letters and almost basically giving away what happens within the fraternity or order sorority, how does that make y'all feel as members of the fraternity or sorority? I'll kick it to Bianca first.
I think my biggest issue with the denouncing of the letters publicly was them actually doing it on a platform. So we see all these videos that are coming out on TikTok, on Facebook, and they have every, right to feel how they feel, but it's opinionated. And so you can do this in private. So I say that to say they have these platforms where they get these views. And so I feel like it's kind of clout in a way, they're following the trend, or, they're wanting to be seen or heard. And now I'm kind of feeling like it's, it's clout chasing in a way. So you can do everything you're doing on your platform or the social media platform in private. So why are you doing it publicly? That's my question. So.
Okay. All right. The Greens, how does that make y'all feel when y'all see stuff like that?
You can go back, because I really don't have a way.
I only seen like a few of them, and like Bianca said, it kind of seemed like a little cloud chase and want to let everybody know. Like, you really don't have to let everybody know, but I really feel like, what really happened for you to denounce something that you joined, something that you pledged, something that you bled over, if you bled over, to not want to continue that and and help others change their life, because you being in that fraternity and sorority could help the next person. Even if you're not in that fraternity or sorority, you still can help the next person. But what made you decide to join a fraternity or sorority and decide to just denounce it? Like, what so bad happened, or what are you seeing? What are you only seeing that's making you think like that to change your whole mind state? I've seen some negative parts of my fraternity, of people who I don't really kick it with, but also seen some great things. And I guess I just stay with the great things that I see, especially for some of the pastors that I've met, and that hold me down. They're mentors. That's what I stay with. I don't stay with the negativity stuff to sway my mind, to change it up to, somebody keep looking at this negative stuff all day, I'm going to denounce something because I see negative stuff all day. Nah, I kind of stick with the positive stuff. So me, I don't get it why people would denounce it, because especially if you've been in it so long, like, people are still gonna think you're part of that fraternity sorority. Those pictures, you back in the day in your fraternity sorority shirt is still there. It's like Bianca said, it's kind of like just doing it for likes, or I don't know. I don't get it. I mean,
for me, you don't have to do anything publicly. You don't have to tell everyone that, like, for every move that you make, we're in a world where you want everyone to know. That's our culture now. Like, we have all these different social media platforms. So in a sense, it's like, yeah, it's clout, but that is the norm now. Like, denouncing something for the world to know, to diminish something else, or I don't know, to put this new idea or these bad ideas out about Black organizations. But that's also about, like, kind of like oppressions of Black people, where we have something that is built and empowered, and something that's inspirational for people to see as Black people, and then we always do something to diminish that organization, or to diminish the look of how we're growing something and the way we're doing it through networking, through scholarship, through service. I just feel like there's always something, and sometimes it's with our own people, where we're tearing down an organization to make yourselves seem so much better. And I just think that you can denounce your letters, but you don't have to do it publicly. Like, you don't even have to tell anyone to do it. If you feel in your heart that that's something that you should not do, or that that's not for you anymore, like, okay, don't pay your dues. Don't talk to your sorority sisters. Don't talk to, like, just disaffiliate yourself, privately. But I don't understand the culture of everyone has to know. But that is us now. That is our new norm. Like, everything has to be seen. Every step that you make, every decision that you take, every walk that you make with whoever, it has to be seen and shown. It's not even clout. It is like now the norm. So
yeah, I think Jew had said something like this previously as well, about how people get out and do it publicly. One thing I will say is that Dr. Knowledge said something about bleeding over. I don't know anything about that. I did not bleed over Kappa Alpha Psi. I sweat. I put a lot of work in. I put some work in, with my community service and things of that nature. But I just wanted to, we don't know
mean that in a literal sense.
You mean in a literal sense.
I don't know.
Haze organization.
Yeah.
Who brought up hazing?
I don't even know. What is that, sir?
What is that?
What is that?
Right.
What are you talking about?
I do want to say something about the public piece. As we'll say, sometimes only thing I'm not going to push back, because I agree with everything everyone's saying. But what others will push back on is, if you're proclaiming your faith and doing something with God, you should do it publicly. And I get that, but then again, I think it does become the individual, because there's probably some of these people, and I haven't looked at everybody's backstory that has created these videos. You probably have some people that don't post at all, and all of a sudden now they come out posting publicly. I was like, you don't even have the consistency of how you're doing your entire life, because there's some people that post everything anyway. So yeah, you should do this publicly because if you're going to talk about Christianity. But my biggest issue with all of it, and I've said this before, is how hard people go, where you could expose rituals or just processes or other things that were secrets. And most people say, why does it have to be a secret? But it's like, there's a lot of things that people do in their life that isn't meant for everybody else to know. So why did you have to come out? And at that point in time, I could only target it with, you're just trying to get clout, you're trying to get views. Because if you want to do that, you don't have to spend an hour and 45 minutes. I mean, we'll spend less than that between 6 people talking. But it's just, you don't have to spend as much time on it as people are. If you're going to preach a sermon, go preach a sermon and just talk about your Christianity, but don't really tie it to this, because that's where you're actually going to take people. And I'm a devout Christian, and everybody that's around me knows that. But you're going to detract from the message and the love that is out there that, Christ wants to lay on the world, based off the way that you're attacking an organization, as Sam said over there. I don't think it's really necessary, especially to bring down our people. So that's something I don't like to see in our community, or just in general.
I feel like, don't like it, but don't break it down.
But isn't that what we do, though?
To tear it down,
But isn't that what we do? I mean, perfect example. I mean, look at Kanye West. He's doing it right now. Like, he's tearing down bit by bit everything that he's built. Everything. He's losing it all, and one day after the next. So as a people, I feel like that's what we do. We latch on to something, and then the next thing you know what? They wronged me, or they did something wrong for whatever reason. So I'm about to go out and I'm gonna attack it. And I'm gonna make sure as a people, I'm gonna keep, I hate to say it like this. This is another way for, the George Chauvins to keep their knee on our necks. But we're doing it to ourselves in a way, because we want to keep attacking our organizations. There's some great things that AKA does here in the state of Indiana, in Indianapolis. I know, I've been a part of it. There's some great things that Delta Sigma Theta does in St. Louis, Missouri. I've been a part of it. There's some great things that Kappa Alpha Psi does. I've been a part of it, but nobody ever brings that stuff out. They always want to just talk about the next big thing of, well, I heard this happen and this kid got hurt and now this kid's in the hospital, whatever the case may be. And then you have things like movies that come out, like The Burning Sands or the movie Hazing that's on PBS right now.
And they literally show one side of our organization. They don't show the after, they don't show the work, they don't show the meaning, they don't show the research, they don't show symbolism, they don't show any of that. They literally only show one side, which is what people think they know, what they think happens. And that is like the furthest from what any of our organizations stand for. It's crazy to me. It's mind blowing.
They don't show how they can take an inner city kid off the hood, send him to college, get a doctorate degree, teach university, all because he is a member of a fraternity. He mentored that little kid. They don't show that part. Now that kid is reaching other people. They don't show that part.
Well, they don't show how, like, for me, I'm a step coach. Every school that I've taught at, from elementary school to high school, I'm at Francis House School District right now, have a step team. Like, literally, that inspired kids to go to college, not to just go to college, knowing that there is an organization in there in educational post, grad educational future where they can be a part of something like that made them want to go to college. That inspired them. Like, they don't understand those stories. And I don't get it. I don't get why people want to just show the flashy part, what they think is like more entertaining over like what we really stand for. And I would really like to see a movie that hits on that, to be honest, like to just give the full circle of what organizations stand for, or what the Divine Nine really means, or even what they would think a Black organization stand for, because they never ever say like, oh, it's never a movie about the actual Divine Nine. It's like, a made up organization that they come up with. But I would just like to see more of like the whole 360 of our, of what it means to be Black Greek,
If anybody wants to produce that out there, I mean, I would volunteer my services to act it in if you need. I got you.
Well, it won't be me, but someone out there.
and that's the thing. I remember, I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie Burning Sands. It was out on Netflix.
I did. It was horrible.
And I got so many questions from people after that movie. Like, you did that? You took part in that? I'm like, what are you talking about? And I went and watched the movie. And I was angry after I watched that movie. I was literally angry because it was all a lie. It was exaggerated. It was a lie for entertainment. And to hear that it was one of our own that made it, he happened to be a member of Omega Psi Phi. So why would you put that out there in the world knowing what was going to come with that? And then the backlash that as a man of God that I claim to be, and I know that I am, now people looking at me like, wait a minute, that's where some of that stuff comes from, stuff like that. And I was just like, I hate that. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
But I don't know if you guys watch Grownish, but Junior pledged, and I feel like they kind of did a really good job of kind of showing that process. I think they really hit on like the beginning, the middle, the after. So that was like the one time where I was like, okay, this is almost accurate. This is almost there. Maybe we have like 25% more to go, but this is 75% there.
Yeah. So. And I just, go ahead, B. Sorry.
I just said I agreed. I saw it, Grownish my show. So when I saw it, I was watching it. And I was like, let me see what y'all gonna do. And the only thing I'll say is, as everybody has already said, so I don't need to be long at all, is that the part that really just bothers me is that they missed the development. Anything that develops Black people, we kill. Anything that, the process is anything is make you strong. And that's why I said a lot of it that is shown is greatly exaggerated. But it's something that's great amongst the Black community. So we have to find a way to tear it down. And the best way to tear it down is the same way we do everything else, is with our own people, which is extremely unfortunate.
And before I bring everything to a close and kick it to everybody for closing remarks, I'll liken it to this. Got a couple military people on this chat, and my dad, being a fellow member of the military, retired Air Force of 27 years, I believe. One thing that he always said about the military going to basic training was that they would tear you down only to build you back stronger. Sometimes, looking at my experiences with Kappa Alpha Psi, it didn't do anything but break down my mind a little bit and force me to think outside the box and to be stronger for it, for when I'm going up against stuff now in the workplace, and I can say, this is nothing. I've been in hotter situations than this. Or if I'm dealing with something with my family and trying to do something with my son, you know, I mean, like, wait a minute, my feet have been held to the fire much more than this. I can handle this and I can move past it. And I you know, if people look at it like that, I look at my experience with Kappa Alpha Psi, you know, the development piece, it just made me a better man today. And I'll kick it over to Seductive. Well, actually, let me go in deference order first. I'm gonna kick it over to Dr. Green for closing remarks. Anything you would like to say about our great fraternity, sir?
I mean, it's the greatest fraternity in all the land. That's all I'm gonna say. But I will say, for anybody who's looking at this, do your research about whatever fraternity sorority you want to get in. Hold on to someone that is doing positive. That's who you need to follow. Anyone that's not so positive, you probably don't want to follow them. They just need to be, you know, hopefully they can, you know, get on the right track. But you want to follow somebody that's doing something positive. Ever since I came into this fraternity, I've always had somebody positive in my life, a mentor that's part of this fraternity. Not just say I only look at Kappa Alpha Psi, but there's other organizations, but Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, they really held me down. My first job, right when I graduated from college, was a guy who was a member of Kappa Alpha Psi hired me. After that, my first teaching job was another member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity who hired me. As I was going through my doctor's degree, I got to a point where, oh man, I can't do this. This is hard. Another guy who's a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated helped me through that process. And you just got to find the good in things and stick with that. Don't seek out the negative stuff, because it seems like when you seek out the negative stuff, that's all your mind tends to just look at. But when you seek out the positive stuff, you tend to just gravitate towards that and stay with that, because that's going to help. That's going to help you get you through any process. That's going to help you hold you over, and that's going to help you, you know, be who you want to be. Yeah, walk through life. Yeah.
You got so much knowledge, babe.
Big brother, Dr. Knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I was on mute. I said that's why we call him Knowledge. He earned that name.
Good job, Knowledge.
You know, the historian over there. That's another show, dude. We gonna get you back. Eileen, any closing remarks?
I couldn't say it better than him. I know through being a part of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and even the Divine Nine, because like a lot of his walks have been with just like his organization, but I've received like mad love from every organization a part of the Divine Nine. I feel like, you know, Delta, they're your sisters, and every other organization is like a family member, a cousin, an auntie, an uncle, or, you know, whatever. But I feel like along the way, just being a part of like the Divine Nine has just been so inspirational to me, to who I am, to my walks, my experiences, when I need someone to pick me up. I just feel like it's just great to be a part of a group like at large, where we're all kind of about the same thing and growing our community and influencing one another and networking and, you know, having those bonds where we all know, you know, we came from deep roots of, I don't know, of such oppression and such ways of like not being able to, and we take that and we turn it into something like amazing, you know? So I don't know, for me, it's just always been a great experience. Shout out to my line sisters who always hold it down for me. When Delta seemed like it was the hardest thing to do, my line sisters alone, that's what I'm the most thankful for. Like, my line sisters are so amazing, they're so dope. And like when everything gets hard, the fact that Delta just brought those women into my life alone, I will always be grateful for. So I've just had great experiences all around, and I'm grateful to the Divine Nine, not only just Delta. So yeah.
All right, Miss Bianca, any closing remarks?
Yes, I'm gonna piggyback off of your statement about the basic training, military basic training. So I would actually compare both experiences and say that they have made me better overall, basically to, you know, help me think on my feet, make me well equipped for anything, as far as, you know, knowledge and just being a proactive person. So I feel like I've came out better on the side of each organization. And just like Eileen said, so I gained so many sisters, the connections and the places that it's put me in as far as, you know, being that much closer to success. Is mind blowing what these organizations can really do for you. So anybody that is looking to join a Divine Nine organization, I would just say do your research, and just choose where your heart is, choose where you want to go, get that mentor, help them walk you through the process. And like I said, just do your research. And with greatness, there comes negativity. And as far as us being members of the Divine Nine, I feel like we just need to keep doing the work, put the positive out there, and just show them, hey, this is a great thing to be a part of. And, you know, you'll do great over here. So.
All right. Seductive, keeping in deference order. Any closing remarks, sir?
Yeah. So one thing I will say is also piggybacking off the BMT, just the basic training. One thing I would like to say was like with the Navy SEALs. Everybody knows that's like one of the hardest organizations in the world to get into. People know that they actually do have forms of hazing, holding people underwater to make sure that they almost can drown for a bigger purpose. So that way, when they're trying to keep people safe, and so people can make videos about certain things, that if they need to swim to shore somewhere and they're in battle taking fire, that they can be able to survive through that. And then so just wanted to throw that out there. Nobody's frowning on those type of things. I'm not saying that we did any of that in Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated because it is a non-hazing organization, but I'm just saying there are things out there that are built to forge you through fire, and it shouldn't be looked at as that's the negative part of the organization if you are seeing the bulk of the people come out on the other side. I also want to piggyback on what Eileen said, is just about, love from the D9. When I went overseas to Korea, the first person I met when I got off the plane, not the first person, but essentially when I got in town, everything was a Q. Was an Omega. And then he hooked me up, took care of me, make sure I was good, introduced me to other people, made sure I met other bros. I mean, GDI is a little bit of everybody. And I mean, he was even enlisted. I'm an officer. And he was like, no, I got to take care of you out here. Let me know what you need. And then, every now and then he actually checks in on me and everything like that now because he's still in the military. But at the same time, it was like that love was everywhere. There's a lot of times, since we're talking Black community, you kind of get a little bit upset when you're walking by another person of color and they don't speak. But if we got our letters on walking past each other, people are going to show some love most of the time, or at least just that acknowledgement and everything. And I think that love and that community across everybody is worthwhile and worth the benefit. And the last thing I'll say to close it up from my end is, we've always talked about like injustice in the community and just all of those type of things. Is how do we raise ourselves to different platforms, as in the Black community or just in general. If you want to see something change, be a part of that change. And then so I will say kudos to the people that are willing to take the heat to come out and say something about it. But what are you going to do after the fact? Have some consistency, continue to move forward on your Christian walk, and really be consistent and be about it. Don't be a hypocrite, where, because we do see that a lot in our Christian community. And then if you want to be a lawyer, you don't like the justice system, you go become a lawyer so you can change it from the inside. You don't say, I ain't gonna never be a lawyer because of the fact that, I don't like them lawyers are crooked. Those politicians are crooked. If you want to change it, you'll be a part of the system. That's something we've preached to people since they've been little kids. If you want to see change, go be a part of it. So some of the people that are even thinking about denouncing your letters, if there's been some bad situations that you dealt with and you were part of a chapter or a part of any organization that you really need to take yourself away from, I get it. But if there's a way for you to change these organizations that are still going to be around, and there's a way that you can be on the inside changing it, I implore you to do that. But I enjoyed chatting with all of y'all today.
All right. Mr. Too Cool for School. Y'all see how the Ace Club do every time? Get that voice, and then next
just lean back.
Yeah, and then
taught them well.
Yeah, All right. Mr. Affliction, man,
hilarious.
any closing remarks?
Hey man, I've been, as I say, I've been a part of a couple of things. I've been preaching literally half of my life, and I've gone through spiritual things that's been development. We talk about fraternity development. I was in the military development, and in all of those areas, I will liken them all to be the same. There's things that have been challenging, but on the other side, I've been because of it. And in me being better because of it, I've been able to assist other people to make it through times, through rough times in their life, the journey that we call is life. And I don't do anything that's not going to make me better. I don't hang around people. Not saying I don't interact with people, because I believe you always have to give back, but I don't allow people to be a part of my circle if it's not really about development. Everything that everybody says is you have to do research. You have to, look at what you're doing. And I'm gonna say this, especially because a lot of it is saying that a lot of people are denouncing their letters because of the Christianity. Like as a minister, I'm always doing research. Like I'm always, people are always challenging me. Well, why you believe in Jesus? Why is this? Why is that? So I always have to stand strong on, my word and know why I'm doing what I'm doing, know what the word says, know what I'm a part of means. So I'm in the military, been a preacher, Kappa Alpha Psi, whatever it is, you have to know why you're doing it, why you're rooted, and just know your roots. And like I say, everybody's already kind of said that, but me just being a minister, I guess sometimes I feel like I see it from a different angle. And I respect them, but I also take it a little bit offensive because of the fact that how hard Christianity is scrutinized and what we have to go through as Christians. And then on top of that, how hard Black people are scrutinized and what we have to go through as Black people. And that's another, organization or entity that I'm a part of that's helped me develop being Black, just, the color of my skin. So with that all being said, about being better forward, real dark skinned brother. But at the end of the day, man, like I say, I pray for you all that y'all get it, that you'll find whatever direction in life that you want to go and that you'll just own it and be the best you.
Hey, Ship, I know you're about to close it up. I just want to say a couple of things. This is your first time watching. Make sure y'all check out the Unacceptable Behavior Network, the fellas, Five Queens, everything else that's out there right now. There's a lot of content out there. Chat with everybody. Let us know what you want to hear because we're trying to hit some real hard topics in our community and just in the world that we want to get after. But, shout out to the crew. Let's go.
Check out stats too.
First saying thank you to the guests that we had on the show today. I know this is a topic not very many people are eager to talk about, but I felt like it was something that we should talk about only because we're on the inside. My dad preached a sermon today, actually. Are you on or are you in? There's something about being on that's foundational to always step off when you're on. But when you're inside, you can make a real direct change. I hear baby. Hey. Oh, you didn't have to cut it off, man. But when it's on the inside, you can make a direct change, man. I would implore, almost like what my ship said, if you be the change that you want to see, be the change that you want to see. Nothing is fixed overnight. Everything is a journey at the end of the day. Please make sure that you do your research, you learn, and learning never stops. That's not just with Greek organizations. Do your research on Christianity. Do your research before you take a job. Do your research before you get married, before you have babies. Things you always got to do your research and make sure that you're ready to take on these challenges, man. So I would just say, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you check out the Unacceptable Behavior Network. I am your guy, B Bond. This has been another episode of In the Cut. We are out. Thank you.
Or maybe it's my eyes. The friends I've had to bury. They keep me up at night. Said I couldn't love someone